A pregnant black girl serving my food? The millionaire throws $300 straight at her face. Disgusting. You people shouldn't even be allowed in places like this. The bills scatter across her uniform, her 7-month belly, the cold marble floor. She had only said 6 words. "Here's your check, sir. Thank you." And this is what she got. "Pick it up." He laughs. "That's where your kind belongs, on the floor, crawling for scraps like the rest of them." The restaurant falls dead silent. Phones rise. Wealthy guests smirk behind their wine glasses. Someone giggles. No one says a single word to help. A millionaire just humiliated a pregnant black waitress in front of 50 witnesses, but none of them knew what was coming. In just a few moments, this millionaire will be the one on his knees, completely speechless. Her 5 words would destroy everything he built. Hope Williams is 27 years old, 7 months pregnant, African American, and she's been on her feet for 9 hours straight. The Sterling Room sits in the heart of Atlanta's Buckhead district. Crystal chandeliers hang from vaulted ceilings 20 feet high. The walls are covered in dark mahogany paneling imported from England. The smell of Wagyu beef and aged Bordeaux fills the air. A single entree costs more than Hope makes in an entire shift. The clientele includes Fortune 500 executives, state senators, and the kind of people who tip in $100 bills, or don't tip at all. Hope is one of 3 black servers on a staff of 22. She adjusts her apron over her growing belly and checks the time. 8:47 p.m. 1 more hour. Then she can go home, soak her swollen ankles in warm water, and count her tips toward nursing school. That's been the dream since she was 19, since her father passed away. Cancer took him in 6 brutal months. She was with him at the end, holding his hand in a hospital room that smelled like antiseptic and wilting flowers. Before he closed his eyes for the last time, he said something she's carried with her every single day since. Never let anyone make you feel less than you are. Not because of your job, not because of your skin, not because of anything. 8 years later, those words still echo in her mind every morning when she wakes up, every night when she goes to sleep. Now it's just Hope and her mother, Gloria, 61 years old, type 2 diabetes that requires insulin injections twice daily, hypertension that demands 3 different medications, monthly prescriptions that cost $800, insurance that covers some things but never quite enough of the things that actually matter. Hope doesn't complain about any of it, not once. She doesn't call in sick when her back aches so badly she can barely stand. She doesn't ask for lighter sections when her feet swell so much she can barely squeeze into her work shoes. She just shows up, every single shift, smile ready, notepad in hand, professional to the core. Some customers don't look at you, she tells a coworker once during a break that lasts exactly 4 minutes. They look through you, like you're furniture, like you're not even human. Her coworker, a woman named Jasmine who's been here 3 years longer, nods slowly. They've all felt it. The invisible wall between server and served. The way some people treat you like decoration, like background noise, like nothing. But Hope doesn't dwell on it. Dwelling doesn't pay rent. Dwelling doesn't buy medication. Dwelling doesn't get her any closer to nursing school or to giving her daughter a better life. Tonight is Saturday, the busiest night of the week. Tips can hit $300 if you work the right section. The VIP section, specifically, the tables near the private dining room where the high rollers sit. Leather booths imported from Italy. Panoramic city views. Customers who order bottles of wine that cost more than 3 months of Hope's rent. The host approaches her around 8:50. "Hope, you're on table 12 tonight." Her stomach tightens immediately. Table 12. The booth in the corner with the imported Italian leather seats and the panoramic view of the Atlanta skyline. The table where the biggest spenders sit. The table everyone wants, and everyone secretly dreads. Big tips, big egos, bigger problems. "Who's the reservation?" she asks, keeping her voice steady. The host checks the leather-bound book. "Caldwell party, 4 guests, arriving at 9. Caldwell. The name means nothing to her, not yet. She smooths her uniform, takes a deep breath, and walks toward the back of the restaurant. Her shoes click against the marble floor. The chandeliers cast warm golden light across her face. Her hand rests briefly on her belly, feeling the baby shift inside her. 7 months pregnant, 9 hours on her feet. 1 more table. She has no idea that in less than an hour, her face will be seen by millions of people across the country. She has no idea that the man waiting at table 12 has done this before, 6 times before to be exact, and she has no idea that tonight, for the first time in his entire life, someone will finally make him pay. Table 12. The VIP section. The table everyone dreads. And tonight, it belongs to her. Preston Caldwell III arrives at exactly 9:32 p.m. He's 54 years old, white, silver hair swept back from a tanned forehead, a Rolex Submariner catching the light with every careless gesture. He wears a charcoal Brioni suit that probably cost more than Hope's car. He owns Caldwell Holdings, commercial real estate worth hundreds of millions of dollars across the Southeast, office buildings in Atlanta, shopping centers in Charlotte, luxury condominiums in Miami with his name etched in brass letters at every entrance. He walks like a man who's never once been told no. 3 business associates trail behind him. Dark suits, silk ties, laughter that carries across the entire dining room. They take their seats at table 12 without waiting to be shown, without acknowledging the hostess who tries to guide them. Hope approaches with her notepad ready. "Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to the Sterling Room. My name is Hope, and I'll be taking care of you this—" Caldwell snaps his fingers. Doesn't look at her. His eyes stay fixed on his phone, scrolling through something that apparently matters more than basic human courtesy. "Bourbon. Neat. Top shelf. Don't make me wait." "Of course, sir. And for the rest of the—" "They'll order when they're ready." He waves his hand, a dismissal. The kind of gesture you use for servants, for people you consider beneath you, for people whose names you'll never bother to learn. Hope writes it down, returns with the bourbon in under 3 minutes. Blanton's single barrel, $218 a bottle. She sets it down carefully on the marble coaster, positioning it exactly where he can reach it comfortably. Caldwell takes a sip. His face twists with exaggerated displeasure. Too cold. The ice watered it down. She doesn't point out that he ordered it neat, meaning no ice whatsoever. There was no ice. The bourbon came straight from a freshly opened bottle at room temperature, but she takes it back anyway, returns with a fresh pour from another bottle. The appetizers come. The steaks come. Each time something's wrong. The wine isn't chilled properly. The brisket is overcooked, even though it's a perfect medium rare exactly as he ordered. The asparagus is limp. The bread is stale. The butter is too cold to spread. Caldwell's voice gets louder with each complaint, more theatrical, more public. His associates shift uncomfortably in their expensive seats. But no one speaks up. No one contradicts him. They just look at their plates and wait for it to pass. Hope keeps her composure. She's dealt with difficult customers before. Hundreds of them over 3 years. You smile. You apologize. You fix whatever imaginary problem needs fixing. You move on. You don't let it get under your skin. At 9:43 p.m., she brings the check. Caldwell looks at the total. $1,248. He laughs. A cold sound, like ice cracking underfoot. He reaches into his jacket, pulls out a leather wallet thick with cash, extracts a stack of bills, 20s, 50s, hundreds, more money than Hope makes in an entire week of double shifts. "Keep the change," he says, his voice suddenly loud enough for the tables around them to hear. Then he throws it at her face. The bills scatter everywhere. A 20 hits her cheek. A 50 lands on her chest. A $100 bill flutters down and settles on her pregnant belly like a perverse blessing. The restaurant goes completely silent. Forks freeze mid-bite. Conversations stop mid-sentence. Every head in the room turns toward table 12. "Maybe you can afford something nice for that baby of yours," Caldwell says, still loud, still performing for his audience. Then he says one more word, a racial slur, the kind that echoes through 400 years of American history, the kind that carries the weight of chains and segregation and violence, the kind that's meant to reduce a human being to nothing. Hope doesn't move, doesn't cry, doesn't run. She stands there, bills scattered at her feet, one hand resting protectively on her belly, eyes locked on his face. 43 seconds of absolute silence. At a nearby table, a couple watches in visible horror. Raymond Torres, 44, and his wife Lisa, 42. They see everything. They hear the word clearly. In the corner of the restaurant, a man named Derek Brown is already reaching for his phone. He starts recording. 43 seconds of footage that will change everything. Victor Stanton, the general manager, rushes over. His face has gone pale. He leans close to Hope and whispers urgently, "Let's handle this quietly. Mr. Caldwell is a very special guest." Special guest. Hope says nothing. She bends down slowly, picks up the bills, one by one, deliberately. Then she stands back up. Her eyes never leave Caldwell's face. Caldwell looks away first. 43 seconds. That's how long she stood in complete silence. And someone was watching. Recording. Hope doesn't call Preston Caldwell to apologize. She goes home instead. The apartment is small. 2 bedrooms, cramped kitchen with peeling linoleum. Her mother's medications line the counter in neat rows, pill bottles arranged by time of day, morning to night. Gloria sits in the living room, watching the late news on their old television with the cracked speaker. "Baby, you're home early." "Rough night, Mama." Gloria looks at her daughter, really looks. 27 years of knowing someone teaches you to read their face like a book. "What happened?" Hope doesn't answer. She sits on the worn couch with the springs that dig into your back. Puts her hand on her belly, feels the baby kick, a tiny foot pressing insistently against her palm. She doesn't know yet that by morning, her entire life will be completely different. At 8:14 a.m., Derek Brown posts his video to Twitter. 43 seconds. A pregnant black woman standing perfectly still while money rains down on her face, her chest, her pregnant belly. A racial slur, clear as day, cutting through the ambient noise of the upscale restaurant. The caption reads, "This just happened at the Sterling Room in Atlanta. Watch how they treat a pregnant black woman. Share this everywhere." And by noon, the video has 50,000 views. By 6 p.m., it has 500,000. By midnight, it crosses 2 million. The comments section becomes a battlefield. One side sees what's obvious, a victim of blatant racial harassment, a pregnant woman humiliated in public for sport, a millionaire who needs to face consequences for his actions. The other side sees something entirely different. We don't know the full story. What did she do to provoke him? She's just playing the race card for attention and money. This is why people don't tip anymore, entitled servers. Fake news, probably staged. The Sterling Room releases an official statement at 4:15 p.m. It's carefully worded, legally reviewed, completely empty of meaning. We are aware of the incident and are reviewing the matter internally. We value all our employees and customers and are committed to maintaining a welcoming environment for everyone. It says nothing about the racial slur, nothing about accountability, nothing about the man who threw money at a pregnant woman and called her something that should never be spoken. Preston Caldwell himself says nothing at all. His social media accounts go dark. His company issues no statement. His office doesn't return calls from reporters. Hope's phone buzzes constantly. Friends, strangers, reporters from local stations, national news producers, numbers she doesn't recognize from area codes she's never seen. She turns it off around 3 p.m. and leaves it buried in a drawer. At 7:22 p.m., before she powers it down completely, one final text comes through from an unknown number. "Drop this now. You don't know who you're dealing with." She stares at the message for a long moment. Her hand trembles slightly. Then she deletes it. Gloria sees her daughter's face on the television that evening. A local news segment, using a still frame from the video as the background graphic. The banner reads, "Viral video shows confrontation at upscale Atlanta restaurant." "Hope, baby. What is this?" Hope can't find the words. She sits next to her mother on the couch, takes her weathered hand, feels the weight of everything pressing down on her shoulders like a physical burden. The next morning at 9 a.m., Victor Stanton calls. "Hope, we need to discuss your employment situation going forward." "Am I being fired?" "We're restructuring the schedule. Your section has been reassigned to other servers. It's just temporary while we sort through this situation with the media." "Victor, you're punishing me because I didn't apologize to him?" A long pause, the sound of papers shuffling. "I'm not punishing anyone, Hope. This is a business decision. You have to understand the position this puts the restaurant in." He threw money at my face. He called me I know what he called you. And I'm personally sorry that happened to you. But I need you to understand the reality here. Caldwell Holdings is a significant investor in the Sterling Group. We have relationships to maintain, contracts to protect. Hope feels something cold settle in her chest. So his money matters more than what he did to me? Another pause, longer this time. When Victor speaks again, his voice is flat. "I can't guarantee your hours going forward, or your position here. I'm sorry, Hope. I really am." She hangs up without saying goodbye. She sits at her kitchen table, calculator out. Bills spread across the scratched surface. Rent statement. Medical bills from her mother's last checkup. Credit card minimum payments she's been juggling for months. Rent, $1,200. Medication for her mother, $800. Utilities, food, prenatal vitamins, baby supplies for when the time finally comes. If she loses her job completely, she has 3 weeks before the money runs out. 3 weeks before she can't afford her mother's insulin. 3 weeks before everything falls apart. Meanwhile, the video keeps spreading like wildfire. 3 million views, then 4, then 5. The hashtag Justice for Hope starts trending in Atlanta, then across Georgia, then nationally. In the comments, buried beneath thousands of others, one message stands out. Hope finds it while scrolling through her mentions late at night, unable to sleep. "This happened to my sister 2 years ago. Same restaurant. Same man. She's black too." Hope reads it 3 times. Same restaurant. Same man. She screenshots it, saves it to her phone, files it away in her memory. She doesn't know yet how important that single comment will become. Outside her window, Atlanta hums with nighttime traffic. The summer heat presses against the glass even after midnight. Inside her small apartment, Hope Williams makes a decision. She's not going to apologize. She's not going to disappear. She's going to find out who else this man has hurt, and she's going to make sure the whole world knows. Her phone rings, an unknown number. She almost ignores it. Then something makes her answer. By midnight, the video crosses 1 million views, and a journalist in Atlanta sees it. The video hits 2.3 million views in 48 hours. Justice for Hope trends nationally. Atlanta first, then Georgia, then the entire country. It climbs to number 3 on Twitter's trending topics and stays there for 2 days. People show up at the Sterling Room, not to dine, to protest, to leave 1-star reviews on every platform that allows them, to film themselves standing outside the entrance calling for a complete boycott. The hashtag boycott Sterling Room joins the first one and starts trending on its own. The Black community mobilizes with remarkable speed and coordination. Churches share the video during Sunday services. Civil rights organizations release formal statements of support. Local business owners announce they'll no longer patronize any establishment connected to the Sterling Group. A popular radio host dedicates an entire morning segment to the story. And in a small office at WSB-TV, Diane Morrison gets to work. She's 42 years old, 15 years in investigative journalism, 3 regional Emmy nominations, a reputation for finding the stories no one else will touch, and following them wherever they lead, regardless of who gets uncomfortable. She calls Hope that first night. No promises, no agenda, just questions. Can you tell me what happened? In your own words. Start from the very beginning. Hope tells her everything. The snapping fingers, the complaints about food that was perfectly fine, the escalating rudeness, the money thrown at her face, the word that followed. He threw money at me, Hope says. He called me that word, and no one in that restaurant did anything to stop him. The manager wanted me to apologize to him. Diane listens, takes careful notes in her personal shorthand, then says something that changes everything. This isn't the first complaint about Preston Caldwell, Hope. I've seen his name before, in HR files that were never made public, in legal settlements that were sealed by the courts. And the pattern is very specific. Specific how? Every person who's filed a complaint against him, every single one over the last 5 years, has been a Black woman. Hope goes quiet. Her hand moves unconsciously to rest on her belly. The baby kicks hard against her palm. How many? She finally asks. I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. That's what I do. 2 days later, Diane calls again with an update. I have a source inside the restaurant. Someone willing to talk off the record. They're terrified of losing their job, terrified of retaliation, but they're willing to share what they know. What did they say? The Sterling Room has been systematically covering for Caldwell for years. HR complaints get filed against him and then they just disappear. Marked as closed with no action taken. 6 separate complaints in the last 5 years alone. All involving Preston Caldwell. All involving Black female employees. All buried. 6 complaints. 6 Black women. 6 times, absolutely nothing happened. Hope feels the anger rising in her chest. Not hot and explosive and uncontrolled, cold and steady and patient. The kind of anger that doesn't burn itself out. The kind that lasts. What do we do now? She asks. We build a case, Diane says. We find the other women. We get the documentation. We make it absolutely impossible for anyone to ignore what's been happening. And if they try to stop us, they will definitely try to stop us. That's how we know we're on the right track. Hope takes a breath, thinks about her father, about the words he told her 8 years ago in that hospital room. Never let anyone make you feel less than you are. I'll tell you everything I know, Hope says. But I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this so no other Black woman ever has to go through what I went through. Diane is quiet for a moment. Then she speaks. That's exactly why this story matters. For the first time in 48 hours, Hope Williams isn't alone. Diane has a lead, a name, a file, and a pattern that's been buried for years. Diane Morrison starts digging. She contacts sources across Atlanta's restaurant and hospitality industry, current managers who owe her favors, former employees who have nothing left to lose, HR professionals who've seen things but never had the courage to speak publicly. The pattern emerges slowly at first, then all at once, like puzzle pieces suddenly falling into a picture no one can deny. First comes the CCTV footage. A source inside the Sterling Room, identity carefully protected, entire career hanging in the balance, provides Diane with the restaurant's security camera recording from that night. 3 minutes and 22 seconds of high-definition footage, A different angle than Derek Brown's phone video. Clearer, closer, higher resolution. You can see Preston Caldwell's face when he throws the money. The contempt in his expression is unmistakable. The smile that curls at the corner of his mouth as he watches the bills scatter. You can see Hope Williams standing absolutely still, her hand resting protectively on her pregnant belly, refusing to give him the reaction he wants. The racial slur is crystal clear on the audio track. No distortion, no ambiguity, no possible alternative interpretation. Diane watches the footage 4 times, takes detailed notes on everything she observes, makes multiple copies of the file, stores them in 3 separate locations: her office, her home, a secure cloud server with encrypted access. This footage cannot be allowed to disappear like everything else. Next come the HR files. The same source provides documents that should never have left the building. Incident reports spanning from 2018 to 2023. 6 separate formal complaints filed against Preston Caldwell during his visits to the Sterling Room. Every single complainant is a black woman. Diane reads through them one by one. Each report tells a heartbreakingly similar story. 2018. A 23-year-old server complained that Caldwell made degrading comments about her appearance and used a racial slur when she politely corrected his order. He had requested the salmon, not the sea bass. Status: closed. No action required. 2019. A 26-year-old hostess alleged that Caldwell threw cash at her and called her a derogatory name after she seated him at a table near the window instead of his preferred corner booth, which was already occupied by other guests. Status: closed. No action required. 2020. A 30-year-old bartender filed a complaint stating that Caldwell made racially charged remarks about her natural hair and grabbed her arm hard enough to leave visible bruises when she walked past his seat. Status: closed. No action required. 2021. Another server, 28 years old, reported the exact same pattern. Thrown money, racial slurs, degrading comments about her body and her profession, implications about what she must do on the side to afford living in Atlanta. Status: closed. No action required. 2022. Same pattern, different victim, same result. Status: closed. No action required. 2023. A hostess, 24 years old. Same pattern, same words, same public humiliation. Status: closed. No action required. 6 complaints over 5 years. 6 black women ranging in age from 23 to 30. 6 times, absolutely nothing happened. No disciplinary action against Caldwell. No ban from the restaurant. No consequences of any kind. Diane keeps digging deeper. She locates the woman who filed the 2019 complaint, the hostess. Her name is Keisha Brown, 31 years old now. She was 26 when Preston Caldwell did to her exactly what he later did to Hope Williams. Keisha agrees to meet. A coffee shop in Decatur, neutral ground. Public enough to feel safe but quiet enough to talk privately. She's nervous when Diane arrives. Her hands shake slightly around her ceramic mug. Her eyes keep darting toward the door as if expecting someone to burst through. But once she starts talking, the words pour out like water breaking through a dam that's been holding back a flood for 5 years. "I thought I was the only one," Keisha says, her voice barely above a whisper. "All these years I genuinely believed it was my fault somehow. That maybe I wasn't professional enough. That maybe I did something to trigger it. That maybe I somehow deserved what happened. I've carried that shame for 5 years. It's affected everything, my relationships, my career, my sense of who I am." "What happened after you filed the complaint?" Diane asks gently. 2 weeks later, I was terminated. They said it was performance issues. But I had perfect reviews before that incident. Perfect scores on every single evaluation for 18 months. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, I wasn't meeting expectations. My attitude was problematic. My fit with the team was questioned. Keisha's eyes fill with tears. She wipes them away quickly, almost angrily, as if she's ashamed of showing emotion after all this time. I see it now. Looking back, it's so obvious. It wasn't me. It was him. It was always him. And we're all black women. Every single one of us he targeted. Diane records the conversation with Keisha's explicit permission. Another piece of the puzzle locking into place. Another voice ready to speak when the time finally comes. Then she finds the email. Another source, this one from Sterling Group's corporate headquarters in a different part of the city, provides a single document that changes everything. An email from Victor Stanton, the general manager, to the restaurant's ownership group. The subject line reads, Saturday incident, confidential. The body of the email reads, I recommend we handle this matter as quietly and quickly as possible. Caldwell is a major investor in the Sterling Group portfolio. We simply cannot afford to lose that relationship over an HR complaint. The racial aspect of these situations makes them particularly sensitive from a PR perspective. Better to settle quickly and move on before anything becomes public. I've already spoken with the employee about maintaining discretion and have reminded her of her NDA obligations. The racial aspect makes this sensitive. Better to settle quickly. Move on. Diane stares at the screen. The words burn into her memory like a brand. This isn't just one man behaving badly at restaurants. This is an entire system designed to protect him. A restaurant that values his investment money more than its employees' dignity, safety, and basic human rights. An HR department that exists not to address complaints, but to bury them. A corporate structure built specifically to make problems disappear before they can become public. She keeps digging deeper. Some pages of the original HR files are conspicuously missing. Pages 4 through 6 of the 2019 complaint have been physically removed from the file. These would have been the most detailed pages, the ones documenting exactly what Caldwell said and did, the ones containing witness statements from other employees, the ones that would have been hardest to explain away. Someone deliberately removed them. Diane notes this discovery carefully. Evidence of an active cover-up. Evidence that someone with authority knew exactly what was happening and made a conscious choice to destroy proof rather than address the problem. She calls Hope that evening to update her. I found 6 official complaints, Diane says. All from black women. All buried without any action taken. There's a clear and undeniable pattern here, Hope. And there's evidence of tampering, missing pages, destroyed documentation. Someone has been actively covering this up for years. Hope is quiet for a long moment on the other end of the line. 6 women, she finally says. Her voice is steady, but Diane can hear the emotion underneath. How many more never even filed complaints? How many just left quietly because they knew nothing would ever happen? I don't know, but we're going to find out. The investigation expands. Diane reaches out to civil rights attorneys across Georgia. She contacts former employees from various Sterling Group properties. She builds a comprehensive timeline stretching back 5 years. Preston Caldwell has been doing this for at least half a decade, targeting black women specifically, humiliating them publicly, using his money and influence to make every problem disappear before it can threaten him. 6 official complaints buried in HR files. Who knows how many more never even made it to paper? The system wasn't broken. It was working exactly as designed, to protect men like him. If this makes you angry, you're not alone. Drop a comment. Let me know you're still here, because the investigation is just beginning, and Preston Caldwell is about to fight back. The letter arrives on day 14. Certified mail. Return receipt requested. The heavy envelope bears the embossed letterhead of Harrison Cole & Associates, one of Atlanta's most expensive and aggressive law firms. The kind of firm that represents billionaires in their ugliest disputes. The kind that specializes in making problems disappear. Hope's hands tremble as she tears it open. Dear Ms. Williams, Our client, Preston Caldwell III, has suffered significant reputational and financial harm due to your false, defamatory, and malicious statements regarding an alleged incident at the Sterling Room restaurant. This correspondence serves as formal notice of our intent to pursue legal action for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and tortious interference with business relationships unless the following demands are met within 14 calendar days. The letter continues for 4 dense pages, legal language designed to intimidate and confuse, numbers designed to terrify, deadlines designed to create maximum pressure. They're demanding $500,000 in damages. Hope reads it twice, then a third time. The words blur together through the tears she's trying to hold back. $500,000. More money than she'll earn in 15 years of waitressing. More than she can possibly comprehend owing. The letter threatens to garnish her wages for the rest of her working life, to seize any assets she might ever accumulate, to destroy her credit permanently, to pursue her estate even after she dies. She hasn't even said a single word publicly. Derek Brown posted the video. Strangers shared it millions of times across the internet. But Hope Williams herself hasn't given a single interview, hasn't made a single public statement, hasn't spoken to a single reporter on the record. It doesn't matter. They're coming for her anyway. The public statement from Caldwell's legal team follows that same afternoon. His lead attorney appears on the 6 o'clock news, looking directly into the camera with practiced sincerity. My client categorically denies these baseless and defamatory accusations. There was absolutely no racial intent whatsoever in the interaction that occurred. Ms. Williams is clearly seeking publicity and financial gain at the expense of an innocent man's reputation. This is nothing more than a coordinated smear campaign designed to extort a successful businessman who has contributed millions of dollars to charitable causes in this community. There was no racial intent. The words hang in the air like smoke. The video has been viewed by more than 5 million people at this point. The racial slur is clearly audible, completely undeniable. You can hear it in every version of the footage. And yet, there was no racial intent. 2 days later, Hope receives the phone call she's been dreading. Hope, this is Victor. We need to have a final conversation about your employment status going forward. Am I being fired? We're implementing a company-wide restructuring initiative. Unfortunately, your position has been eliminated effective immediately. My position, the position I've held for 3 years with perfect performance reviews, the position you said was secure just last month? I understand this is difficult news. We'll provide you with 2 weeks of severance pay as required by state law. She hangs up before he can say anything else. She sits alone in her small kitchen, stares at the bills spread across the table, runs the numbers one more time, hoping they'll somehow be different. Rent, medication, utilities, food. 3 weeks. That's how long her savings will stretch. Maybe less. That night, around 2 a.m., her mother collapses, a complication from her diabetes. Her blood sugar dropped dangerously low while she slept. She fell trying to get to the bathroom and couldn't get back up. Hope found her on the cold tile floor, barely conscious, her lips turning an alarming shade of blue. The ambulance arrives in 8 minutes. The emergency room, the waiting area with its harsh fluorescent lights and hard plastic chairs. The endless questions from intake nurses and financial administrators. Does she have insurance? Who is her primary care physician? What medications is she currently taking? How will you be paying for this? Hope answers everything in a fog. Hours crawl past like days. Gloria finally stabilizes around dawn, but the medical bills start arriving before Hope even leaves the building. $12,000 for the emergency room visit alone. More to follow. Hope sits in the hospital parking lot as the sun rises over Atlanta. Alone in her car, the summer humidity already building even at 6 a.m. Her phone buzzes with another message from an unknown number. You've been warned twice now. Back off or things will get much worse for you and your family. She deletes it with trembling fingers. Then she puts her forehead against the steering wheel and closes her eyes. Everything she's worked for is slipping away. Her job, her savings, her mother's health, her baby's future, all of it crumbling because a wealthy man threw money at her and she refused to apologize for being humiliated. For the first time since this began, Hope seriously considers giving up. What if she issued a public apology? Disappeared from the story? Let Caldwell win? If she stops now, the lawsuit might go away. Her mother could keep getting her medication. Life could return to something resembling normal. But then she thinks about the 6 complaints. The 6 black women. The years of enforced silence. If she gives up, she becomes the 7th woman who was silenced. That night, Hope sits in the hospital parking lot, alone. And for the first time, she thinks seriously about quitting. Then her phone rings. The hospital room is quiet except for the steady beep of the cardiac monitor. Gloria Williams lies in the narrow bed, eyes closed, breathing slowly and steadily now. The crisis has passed. Her blood sugar has stabilized. The doctors say she'll recover fully with proper rest and medication adjustment. But the bills haven't passed. They're just beginning their relentless accumulation. Hope sits in the hard plastic chair beside her mother's bed, holds her weathered hand with its paper-thin skin, watches the slow rise and fall of her chest with each breath. $12,000 in medical bills from one night in the emergency room. No job anymore. No health insurance in 30 days when her coverage expires. A lawsuit demanding $500,000 from a woman who has less than $2,000 in her savings account. She does the math on a crumpled napkin from the hospital cafeteria. The numbers refuse to change no matter how many times she adds them up. Medication for her mother, $800 every single month. Rent, $1,200. Utilities, phone, food, prenatal vitamins, baby supplies she hasn't even started buying yet because she was saving for a crib. She has 3 weeks of savings left, maybe less if anything else goes wrong. The baby kicks inside her, hard, insistent, like a demand for attention. I'm still here. Don't forget about me. Hope puts her hand on her swollen belly, feels the tiny feet pressing against her palm from the inside. Maybe they're right, a voice whispers in her mind. Maybe you should have just apologized and moved on. Maybe being a black woman in this world means learning when to swallow your pride and survive another day. The thought makes her feel physically sick, but it won't stop coming back, again and again, like waves against a shore. She thinks about Keisha Brown, about the other 5 women in those buried HR files, the ones whose names she still doesn't even know. Did they feel this way? This crushing weight? This overwhelming temptation to just disappear and let the powerful win again? Gloria's eyes flutter open slowly. Her voice comes out scratchy and weak. Baby? Are you there? I'm here, Mama. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. I saw you. On the television. Before I fell last night. Hope's chest tightens painfully. Mama, I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I didn't want to drag you into... Hush. Gloria's grip tightens on her daughter's hand with surprising strength for someone who nearly died hours ago. I raised you better than to apologize for standing up for yourself. But look at what it's costing us. Look at what it's costing you. You're lying in a hospital bed because of the stress I'm in the hospital because I'm old and stubborn and forgot to eat dinner before taking my insulin. That's not your fault. Don't you dare put that on yourself. Gloria is quiet for a moment. Her eyes, the same deep brown as Hope's, as her grandmother's before her, find her daughter's face in the dim light of the hospital room. Your grandmother marched in Selma in 1965. Did I ever tell you that story? Hope nods. She's heard it 100 times. 1,000. She got beaten by police with clubs. Got arrested 3 times. lost her job at the textile factory, lost friends who were too scared to stand with her. Gloria's voice grows stronger with each word. But she didn't stop. She kept marching. Because she knew in her bones, that some things are worth fighting for, even when it costs you everything you have. Mama, I marched too, in the 70s, in the 80s. Every time they told us to sit down and be quiet, we stood up and got louder. Gloria's eyes shine with tears, not of sadness, but of fierce, unbreakable pride. I didn't raise you to stay quiet when you should speak. Your grandmother didn't march and bleed so you could apologize to some rich man who threw money in your face. Now it's your turn, baby. Your turn to stand. This is the lowest point of Hope's story. But I need you to stay, because what happens next changes everything. And then her phone rings. Terrence Grant is 38 years old, African American, graduate of Howard University School of Law, top of his class, partner at a boutique civil rights firm in downtown Atlanta that specializes in discrimination cases. He's won lawsuits against corporations 10 times the size of Caldwell Holdings. But that's not why he takes this case. My sister, he tells Hope over coffee 3 days later, at a small cafe near his office in Midtown. She was a front desk clerk at a luxury hotel in Miami. A guest harassed her repeatedly over 3 days, called her names, made her feel like nothing. When she finally reported it to management, they fired her within a week, said she was difficult to work with and not a team player. What happened to the guest? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He kept staying at that hotel for 3 more years, got upgraded to a suite every single time he visited. Terrence's jaw tightens visibly. I was still in law school when it happened. I couldn't help her. I didn't know how. He sets down his coffee cup. His eyes are steady, determined, the eyes of someone who's been waiting for this moment. I couldn't help my sister back then, but I can help you now, pro bono, no charge, no strings attached. He starts building the case immediately. First, he digs up the old lawsuits. It takes a week of digging through court archives and sealed records. But Terrence finds them. 3 separate civil lawsuits filed against Preston Caldwell over the past 8 years, all alleging harassment or discrimination, all involving black female plaintiffs, all withdrawn before ever reaching trial. They were paid off, Terrence explains. Settlement agreements with strict non-disclosure clauses. The women took the money, usually a fraction of what they actually deserved, and legally agreed to disappear from the record forever. How much money? I don't have exact figures yet, but the pattern is absolutely clear. He does this repeatedly, gets caught, pays to make it go away quietly, does it again, rinse and repeat, over and over. The second breakthrough comes from an unexpected source, the commenter from the original video, the one who wrote, "This happened to my sister 2 years ago, same restaurant, same man." Her name is Monique Davis, 29 years old. Her younger sister worked at the Sterling Room in 2022. Same pattern, same man, same devastating outcome. Monique reaches out to Diane Morrison through social media, agrees to meet in person, to go on the official record, to stand publicly with Hope. Then Keisha Brown calls with news of her own. I've been silent for 5 years, living in shame, thinking it was somehow my fault. Her voice is stronger now than it was in that coffee shop. Steel underneath the words. Not anymore. If you're taking this to court or to the press or wherever it needs to go, count me in. I'll testify. I'll tell everyone exactly what Preston Caldwell did to me. The crowdfunding campaign launches on day 21 after the incident. Within 72 hours, it raises $45,000 from over 3,000 individual donors across the country. Enough to cover Gloria's hospital bills completely. Enough for preliminary legal costs. Enough to prove that Hope Williams is absolutely not alone in this fight. The donations come from everywhere: $10, $20, $500. Messages attached to each one. This happened to my mother in 1985. I believe you. Make him pay for what he's done. 6 black women, 1 target, and now they have a lawyer ready to fight. The manila envelope arrives without a return address. Inside, 37 pages of internal financial records from Caldwell Holdings, bank statements showing wire transfers, settlement agreements with signatures and dates, documentation that was never supposed to see the light of day. The source insists on remaining completely anonymous. A former senior accountant at the company, Diane eventually learns through careful investigation. Someone who processed these payments for years and watched the pattern repeat. Someone who finally couldn't stay silent anymore. Terrence spreads the documents across his conference room table. Hope and Diane sit across from him, watching as the full scope of the conspiracy becomes undeniably clear. Here, he says, pointing to the first highlighted transfer. March 2019, $75,000. Wire transfer to a woman identified only as Victim A in the internal records. The memo line reads, "Consulting services." Consulting services? Hope asks. What does that mean? That's what they call hush money when they don't want it to look like hush money on the official books. He turns to the next page. July 2021, $120,000. Victim B. Exact same memo notation, same wire transfer process. And the next. September 2022, $95,000. Victim C. Same memo, same pattern, like clockwork. 3 payments. Nearly $290,000 in total. 3 black women paid to disappear from history. Paid to stay silent forever. The settlement agreements are attached to each payment record. Standard NDAs, non-disclosure clauses that legally forbid the women from ever discussing what happened, ever speaking publicly, ever warning anyone else who might be targeted. But Terrence notices something crucial in the legal language. These NDAs are sloppily drafted, he says, a hint of satisfaction in his voice. Whoever wrote them was in a hurry or just lazy. They made a significant error. The agreements prevent the women from speaking to the press or making public statements, but they don't explicitly prevent testimony in an official government proceeding. What does that mean for us? It means, if there's a city council hearing or a grand jury investigation, these NDAs can't legally stop the women from telling the truth under oath. The pattern is now complete and documented beyond any reasonable doubt. Preston Caldwell targets black women. He harasses them, humiliates them publicly, uses racial slurs. When they dare to complain, the corporate system protects him. When they threaten to go public, he pays them off. Nearly $300,000 in documented hush money. 3 women permanently silenced by legal agreements. 6 more official complaints buried in HR files that were never acted upon. All black women. Every single one. Diane takes the documents back to WSB-TV. The news director greenlights a special investigative report within an hour of reviewing the evidence. A pattern of silence, the Caldwell Files, targeting black women. The segment airs 3 days later during prime time to the largest audience the station has had in months. The report lays out everything methodically. The HR complaints spanning 5 years. The settlement payments totaling nearly $290,000. The NDAs designed to ensure permanent silence. The missing pages from official files. The email from Victor Stanton instructing ownership to handle it quietly because the racial aspect makes this sensitive. The public response is immediate and overwhelming. Caldwell Holdings' stock price drops 6% in a single trading day. Millions of dollars in shareholder value evaporating. 3 pending municipal contracts are suspended pending investigation. Board members begin publicly distancing themselves from Preston Caldwell. And Atlanta City Council takes official notice. Councilwoman Evelyn Carter, African-American, longtime advocate against workplace discrimination, calls for an emergency public hearing. The people of Atlanta deserve answers, she announces. If a prominent businessman has been systematically targeting black women for years and using his wealth to cover it up, this community needs to know. The hearing is scheduled for 8 days later. For the first time in his entire life, Preston Caldwell III cannot write a check to make this problem disappear. Atlanta City Hall, day 35. The hearing room is packed beyond capacity. Every seat filled. People standing along the walls, 3 deep. Television cameras positioned in a row at the back. Reporters from every major outlet in the state, and several national networks. Hope Williams sits at the front witness table. 8 months pregnant now, her belly prominent beneath a simple black dress. Terrence Grant sits beside her in a crisp navy suit. Behind them in the gallery, Diane Morrison with her notepad ready. Keisha Brown sitting tall for the first time in 5 years. Monique Davis representing her sister. 4 other women who've agreed to testify today. 6 black women, 1 target. And there he is. Preston Caldwell III sits across the aisle at the opposing table. Expensive charcoal suit, silver hair perfectly styled. 3 lawyers flanking him like protective walls. For the first time since this began, his face shows something besides arrogance and contempt. Fear. The evidence is presented systematically over 2.5 hours. The CCTV footage plays on large screens for everyone to witness. Audible gasps ripple through the packed room. The HR files are entered into the official record. 6 complaints, all from black women. All marked, closed, no action required. The bank records. $290,000 in settlement payments, all to black women who were legally silenced. The email from Victor Stanton. Handle quietly. The racial aspect makes this sensitive. One by one, the witnesses step forward to tell their stories. Keisha Brown testifies first. Her voice shakes at the beginning, but her words are absolutely clear and unwavering. He threw money at my face, called me a word that no human being should ever have to hear. When I reported what happened, I lost my job within 2 weeks. I thought I was alone in this. I thought it was my fault. I carried that shame for 5 years. Then Monique Davis. Then 2 of the anonymous women, testifying from behind privacy screens to protect their identities. The pattern is undeniable. The evidence overwhelming. The cover-up exposed for the whole world to see. Caldwell's lead attorney rises to speak, a prepared statement delivered without conviction. Mr. Caldwell maintains that these interactions have been fundamentally misunderstood. There was no racial intent whatsoever. My client is a respected businessman who has contributed millions of dollars to charitable causes in this community. Councilwoman Evelyn Carter leans forward in her chair. Her voice cuts like steel. Mr. Caldwell, can you explain to this council why every single complaint, every single settlement payment involves a black woman? Were all of these women simply misunderstanding you? Caldwell's mouth opens. His attorney immediately cuts him off. Urgent whispers, but the damage is already done. The question hangs in the air. Unanswered, unanswerable. Then Hope Williams is called to speak. She rises slowly from her seat, one hand supporting her belly. 8 months pregnant. A black woman who refused to accept silence. She walks to the microphone. The room falls completely quiet. Every eye on her. She looks directly at Preston Caldwell, holds his gaze without blinking. And then she speaks. 5 words. I remember every single face. Every face. Every woman. Every humiliation. Every slur. Every dollar paid to erase them from history. She remembers. They all remember. Preston Caldwell opens his mouth. Nothing comes out. For the first time in his privileged life, the millionaire is completely speechless. 5 words. That's all it took. 6 months later. Preston Caldwell III faces an ongoing federal investigation for systematic civil rights violations. Caldwell Holdings has lost 4 major municipal contracts worth tens of millions. He's resigned from 6 corporate boards under intense pressure. The defamation lawsuit against Hope was quietly withdrawn without explanation. Victor Stanton was terminated. The Sterling Room closed permanently. The building now houses a community center for workforce development. Keisha Brown opened a small coffee shop in East Atlanta called Second Chances. Hope Williams was her first employee, working part-time between classes. Because Hope is in nursing school now, full scholarship, funded by the community that refused to let her stand alone. Her daughter is 3 months old. She named her Gloria, after her grandmother, after the woman who marched in Selma, after generations of black women who refused to be silent when they should have spoken. Some nights, after the baby finally sleeps, Hope sits by the window of their new apartment and thinks about that evening at the Sterling Room. The money falling through the air. The word that cut like a blade. The 43 seconds of perfect silence. She thinks about the women who came before her. The ones paid to disappear. The ones who carried the shame alone for years. And she remembers her father's words. Never let anyone make you feel less than you are. She was invisible once, a pregnant black waitress. Nobody important. Easy to dismiss. But she stood up. She spoke out. She spoke. She remembered every single face. And she made them remember hers. If this story moved you, if you believe everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, subscribe, share it, and tell me your story in the comments, because your voice matters, always.